Bangor Municipal Golf Course is celebrating a big milestone this week.
It was 60 years ago the first ball was driven at what was then a 9-hole course.
The club is now home to a 27-hole course, driving range, pro shop, and restaurant open to the public.
Bangor Municipal is the only course in Maine to host a USGA championship. The course also hosted the Greater Bangor Open and the Down East Metro Amateur.
PGA golf pro Rob Jarvis shares what he thinks is the most important change the course has seen in his 32 years of experience.
I think the last couple years have been probably the most pivotal change in the sport. The amount of young people that took up the game, you know, really when they just wanted to be outside with their friends during the COVID kind of lockdown, they could come play golf. And we just have, you know, a lot of 20-somethings, 30-somethings that maybe they'd played a little and they started playing again and they've really stuck with it. So we have a ton of those folks that are playing, having a great time, supporting the facility, and just kind of growing the next generation of golf.
For more information on the course, go to bangorgc.com.
And here's to 60 more years.